Hello and welcome once again to Red Gaming Tech for your daily dose of your latest gaming news and myself, Amata. Today is the 31st of October and this time I'm bringing you some news from Capcom as they have released some information regarding their financial reports, sales figures for certain games and all that good stuff, and there's some rather interesting information here. And the first piece is that Resident Evil 5 has overtaken Capcom's legendary Street Fighter 2 as their biggest selling game since the company formed back in the dark days of 1983. Now, this was revealed via a post on the Capcom Investor Relations site, and they did estimate that the lifetime sales for Resident Evil 5 were at 6.5 million units since 2009, which firmly beats Street Fighter's 6.3 million. Now that's rather impressive when you consider that Street Fighter 2, originally launched back in 1992 and has been re-released several million times since then. So Resident Evil 5 has done pretty well to beat it in a much shorter period of time. Now, just behind it is Resident Evil 6 in third place with 5.2 million units, which is closely followed by the 4.96 million copies of Resident Evil 2 sold since 1998. So even though Resident Evil 2 is quite an old game by today's standards, well, a very old game by today's standards, it is still one of their highest selling, and rightfully so, although it does make me sad that the abomination known as Resident Evil 6 actually beat it, considering that Resident Evil 2 is one of my personal favourites Resident Evil games. And the list does continue though with Monster Hunter Freedom 3 at number 5 with 4.8 million units sold, Street Fighter 2 Turbo at 6 with 4.1 million, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite at 7th with 3.6 million units, and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis at 8th with 3.5 million units sold. Interestingly though, Street Fighter 4, which of course has been rather critically acclaimed and has been quite popular since its release, is only 9th with 3.3 million units sold, which is closely followed by the newly released Monster Hunter 4 at 2.8 million units. And unsurprisingly, the latter is selling very, very well in Japan. Now, as well as this information regarding the game sales, they did post its full financial report, which says that Monster Hunter 4 has actually helped them call something of a slump in its last report. Now, via GI.biz, Capcom has reported that the Digital Contents Division, and this is a 6-month report by the way, and that division handles PC, console and mobile games, saw 3.2 billion yen in revenue, which is a 16.9% year-on-year increase. Net profit came in at 4.9 billion yen, which is an increase of 20% year-on-year. Now, that same division did account for the bulk of Capcom's income, which totaled something like 37.5 billion yen. That's a 7.2% year-on-year increase, but it is worth remembering that the division's operating profit did slump 7% to 5.4 billion. Now, as I mentioned previously, at the time of recording, the Digital Contents Division has been seeing success with Monster Hunter 4, which has already topped 3 million units in Japan when it only released in September. Now, that game's success does come ahead of other key titles such as Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies on the 3DS and Resident Evil Revelations HD, both of which were said to have, quote, basically achieved projected sales. Unfortunately, no figures were given, and the critically panned Lost Planet 3 was said to have fallen short of predictions, but again, they did not give any figures for that particular piece of information. But I don't think it's any surprise to anyone ever that Lost Planet 3 sold badly, given that, well, yeah, the reviews were rather telling of a linear, janitorial simulator, essentially, is what it was. So there you have it, Capcom's financial report, and they're showing improvement after a slump, and even some rumours that the European operations were set to undergo significant layoffs. But it seems they are seeing some improvement, although it's a bit of a shame to see Resident Evil 2 so low down the list. Anyway, that is me done for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.